Morning. We are working on interpreting allegories. Um, in hermeneutics, interpreting allegories can be delicate because once you don't find the right things and main ideas and the most important things, and then we can make lots of problems. Um, Actually, lots of cults and kind of pseudo Christianities, and they are trying to allure people um, by misinterpreting allegories. And then, but they want to just convince those people so that they can believe it, and then follow them, wrong ways actually. Um, when Jesus came down to Israel, um, he noticed that Pharisees and Sadducees and scribes, those and priests, those are main leaders in Israel. And well, there were kings, but those were political leaders. But the Pharisees and scribes and Sadducees priests, those were kind of leading groups to the society. Okay, kings were fighting with other nations and countries, but those groups that were you know real leader of the society. But he noticed that, Jesus noticed that those people are interpreting the Bible, Pentateuch, the first five books of the Old Testament. At the time, they didn't have anything else but those. But anyway, they actually tried to find real meaning, genuine meaning, and even some of them, especially the scribes, they almost memorized those things because having books at the time, that's beyond our imagine, because one book must be, you know, kind of a roll of leather. That's, kind of thick, heavy, bulky, leather rolls were there for, because, even a book, Genesis, it's kind of 50 chapters. Um, it is thin like this nowadays, but at those times, uh, they had to write on the letters or papyrus, and then those were bulky, so it was hard to carry them. It was not handy at all. So they didn't have, the copies much, so they had to memorize it. That's the best way, actually, because there were no other ways to carry or have those books, Pentateuch. So um, so they have to memorize it. It is very more convenient for them. But anyway, they knew those five books very well. Even they memorized them all, almost all, and then but they misinterpreted that in some ways. And then what would have happened at the time? Whatever they say, that's gonna be the right teachings or something like that. Because most other people don't, even they didn't have seen any books, real books, and they couldn't read much because they most of them were illiterate, and so they had to heavily rely on those leaders, Pharisees, scribes, and priests. Whatever they teach, they have to accept those things. That's what happened until um, 1517, and nowadays even Catholic churches have lots of translated versions of the Bible, but until 1517, only Catholic fathers could have Bibles, maybe Bibles in the sanctuary only, and those were written in Latins mostly. And how could we understand Latins in the United States? How could Asian countries understand Latins? How many people can master Latins? Usually, if you want to master the old languages like Hebrew, Greek, Latin, you have to spend 5 or 4 years for Hebrews and 10 years for Greeks and 15 years for Latins, which means it is pretty hard for any actually it's pretty impossible, almost impossible for the normal people to master Latins, and they couldn't understand the Latins. When Catholic fathers and priests were reading Bible during the services, most of them couldn't understand what he was reading, but they had to rely on what Catholic priests preached, right? And then, since they didn't have any their own language version of the Bible, so they couldn't compare, and they couldn't, make sure what their fathers were teaching to them. So whenever they read and just teach people, they couldn't just compare with others or to original Bible books or something like that. Nowadays, when you hear something weird or awkward or it doesn't make sense to you, you can just open the Bible and just compare that. Even you can just read Bibles in many versions in the United States, because there are NIVs and King James Version and New King James Version, RSV, Revised Standard Version, and NRSV, New NIV, New NIV, it's what's so-called INIV or whatever, and then there's American Standard Version. There are so many English versions. Good news for modern man must be, I think that was the most easy English version I ever read. And well, we have lots of versions in English even, and we can just compare those things with what our pastors or priests are saying. But at those times, they had to rely on their interpretation. So, what if they delivered something wrong? And Jesus criticized those Pharisees, priests, and scribes, because Jesus knew that those people were familiar with the Bible, and they even, memorized most of them, or all of them, but Jesus thought they were interpreting Bible in different ways. That was the real problem. Okay? So God is saying in this chapter, okay? But they interpret, Pharisees and priests and scholars, what if they interpret B or A this or A this? Okay. That's what Jesus knew, and they sometimes they criticize those people because those people were very expert and professionals on Bible, the five books, Pentateuch. But um, but they just interpreted it the wrong way. Okay, like A or B. That was a real problem. And then in most cases, allegorical or allegorization, um, that can be lead people in really wrong way, like C or D or F or whatever. Okay. So understanding allegories, used by people and even Jesus. Jesus used to use allegories. Okay. But what if people misinterpret those things? And that can be make really big problems. And that can be that can be really bad. And then what have happened? We don't understand what's going on, and um, we can and we can make lots of things. Okay, that can be real problem, right? All right. So we want to just work on the allegories a little bit more. By example, actually we just took care of this thing, so we want to just move on to this. Okay, the number two, Jesus as the true vine. The allegory of Christ as the true vine is analyzed here to show the relationship of the several points of comparison to the meaning of the passage. There are three focus in this allegory, okay? And this is what Jesus said. Jesus used the, like vine. All right. I believe you've seen the vine or what is it? That's grape fruit. I mean tree, right? Okay. So those grape trees were actually it's kind of they just they just grow this way. So the vineyard farmers they have to support some sticks or anyway it is kind of hard to draw it. So let's say there is a vine. Okay, there are some branches. I mean, there are some. Let's say there are some branches. Let's say this. Okay, there are some branches, right? Let's say this is a vine. Okay, okay, easy to understand. All right. There are three main things. One is the vine dresser. Vine dresser means vine dress. Let's say it's a vine farmer. Okay, that's the same thing. Who is taking care of the vine? The trees. Okay, vines. So there is a vine dresser. Okay, vine dresser, and this is a vine. Okay, and there are some branches. Okay, there are three things. Three things are important. Jesus just mentioned this. All right, there is a vine dresser and a vine and branches. Okay, vine dresser is God. All right, The vine is Jesus, and branches is ourselves. It's us. Okay? So, what are the relationships between among those people, among those elements? I mean, excuse me. All right. So the vine dresser takes care of the tree vines, and then branches, attached to the vine. What if a vine dresser doesn't take care of the vine? It's gonna be withered. It's gonna die. Okay, it's not gonna make any fruit. Okay, so the relationship is pretty close. The relationship is pretty close. But what about the branches? What if that branch just left the tree, left the vine? It's gonna be withered. It's gonna die soon, maybe in a couple of days, because it's gonna be withered, right? And then no fruit, no grape, withered. Okay, I mean no water, no nutrition, something like that. The results, it's gonna die. Useless and meaningless. All right, so Jesus and the branches relationship is pretty high. That's it. All right. What Jesus wanted to say is this. Okay? Relationship is very important. God takes care of Jesus, and the branches, the Christians, people, we are supposed to connect it to Jesus, or we're gonna die. We're gonna be meaningless. Okay? That's the point, and that's it. In this allegory, Jesus wanted to say, he just focused on the relationships. God cares the vine, and the vine itself takes care of those branches, supply water, nutrition. Okay? And then the branches will make fruits. So for the real, meaning of the vine, the real picture and the most beautiful picture of the vine is there is a vine, and those branches are supposed to be connected with Jesus. That's it. I think that's the most important thing, and that's the point. That's the point of what Jesus wanted to tell us, and that's it. And we have to stop there. I just mentioned that if we don't stop there, some, weird or awkward, or some people wanted to dig that in a little bit more, and they are trying to explain more than that, and they want to just add what they are thinking, rather than just staying with Jesus' teaching, but they want to add one by one, so they can manipulate people, or they just pretend that they are smart, or they just trying to that they are experts, or something like that, or they just they just interpret that allegory for certain goals. Okay? Then I think that's going to be awful interpretation. We need to be careful. For example, some people are saying that, okay, there is branch 1 and there is branch B. If I poke the branch B with my, little branch, and doesn't like it, and God gonna cut it off. Jesus didn't mention that at all. Jesus didn't want to just tell that to people with this. But by adding this, the wrong teaching and the wrong interpretation, what they gonna do, it's not what Jesus wanted to teach people at that point with this allegory. Okay, so be careful. We don't want to just learn the science or nutrition. What kind of nutrition Jesus suck up? For the branches, what if we take some nutrition for 1 and no nutrition 2? We accept the teachings, but we don't offer our money or something. We got in trouble or something. No, don't go there. Okay, allegories are not for that. Okay, we have to stick to the main idea. What Jesus really wanted to say. Okay, or we got in trouble because we don't understand the real meaning of the allegories. Okay, then we're gonna mislead people to something else. We want to just understand why Jesus wanted to say that allegory, and what is the main idea for that, main goal. Okay, and in what circumstances Jesus just taught that allegories to people, right? So those are important. So hermeneutics, especially the interpreting allegories, is pretty important, and that can be delicate. And if we don't understand the main idea, the real intention, what the speaker wanted to say, we're gonna make mistakes, right? Okay. Number 2, principles for interpreting allegories. A, note the points of comparison that are explained or interpreted in the passage. So this is this. We need to see the points. There can be one point or more multiple points of the allegory. Okay? So this is the real teaching, but the speaker can use allegories. Okay? Then allegories is for supporting and for making people to understand this easily. Okay, that's why people are using allegories. And then allegories can have lots of elements and factors in the story, but that is the main idea for this teaching. we have to focus on this. We don't want to just interpret all other stuff. No, you don't need it. Okay? That's the important. For example, Jesus is the vine. In that allegory of the vine, Jesus says, I'm the true vine. What does that mean? I'm the true vine means what? Alright, you decided this. This is the vine of Jesus, and this is the Pharisees or Sadducees and priests. You wanna just connect it to Jesus, or you wanna just connect it to those people? You better choose to be connected to Jesus. Okay? If you are connected to Jesus, because this is a true vine, you're gonna make a true fruit. Okay? But what if you just stick to other vines? This is not true vine, and you're not gonna make grape, no, or wrong grape. Okay, or you're gonna make an apple. People like the apple, but it's not for that. Vine is for grape, but that's not for apple or something else. So this is the main idea. I'm the true vine. You wanna stay with me and then make wonderful fruits. You're gonna get real nutrition. You're gonna get real fresh water. You're gonna make wonderful fruits. That's what Jesus is saying. Do not attempt how to interpret allegories. Do not attempt to interpret details in allegories that are not explained, because you don't need to know it. When you got distracted with those, secondary or decorative things in that allegory, you're gonna miss the main idea, or the main idea can be dimmed. Okay. In the allegory of a house built by wisdom. Okay, there is another allegory. Okay, you don't want to just interpret the details. In the Proverbs chapter 9, verse 1 to 6, it says this: Wisdom has built her house. She has set up its 7 pillars. Okay, wisdom is building house. There are 7 pillars, and she has prepared her meat and mixed her wine. She prepared the meat. I don't know. Let's say drumstick meat, and mixed her wine. Okay, wine. She has also set her table. Yeah, set a table. She has sent out her servants, and she calls from the highest point of the city, "Let all who are simple come to my house." To those who have no senses, she says, "Come, eat my food and drink the wine I have mixed. Live your simple ways, and you will live. Walk in the way of insight." Okay, let me do it again. So the wisdom built a house which has 7 pillars. Okay, 7 pillars, and And wisdom set a table and meat and wine, which is great, great food at the time. If you are vegetarians, sorry for that. And then made the wisdom. That's wisdom. You don't see wisdom. No, not at all. But it's allegory, right? Wisdom had a servant shout to people, come and get that. Come and get those things. Come and eat. Come and eat. Come and eat. What? Eat what? Meat and wine. What are those? What are those? That means wisdom. You come to my house and learn the wisdom. Learn the wisdom. Leave your ways. Leave your ways. But and you will live. Walk in the way of insight. Walk inside. That's another meaning of wisdom, right? So live your ways and you can live. Or you're gonna die. That means you're gonna die. If you live like that, as you live right now, and then you're gonna die. You have to leave the ways you are living right now. Okay? You are stealing others' properties and killing others' lives, and you are deceiving others and young people, and you allure others for something wrong. You're gonna die. So leave your ways. Stop stealing, stop killing, stop deceiving, stop alluring other people. Okay? Stop telling a lie. Okay? Stop disrespecting your parents. Okay? Then you will live. Or you're gonna die. You're gonna die. You come and eat means you just come and get wisdom inside. You see the real thing, and so you can understand and choose what is right and what is wrong, what is God's way, what is Satan's way, and inside you see and learn. Okay, you see and learn, which means you can, and when you got wisdom, you can get insight. Okay, when you got wisdom, you can see, you can choose right. Okay, that's what Proverbs chapter 9 is talking about. 7 pillars, I don't know, maybe 7 perfect or good or huge house. Okay, very stable, very strong, very powerful, very authoritative. Okay. Why wisdom had servants shout on the roof? Because that's the news. Because it's telling great things to all people, not to the smarter people. So wisdom is not inviting the little, the poor, the lower. No. It's simple. We all know, okay, wisdom is, wisdom wants to call all people, no discrimination, no racism, okay? And that's just a calm. come and get inside. Okay? You have to leave your ways because people are crooked. People are telling lies. People are deceiving. People are stealing. People are killing. Actually, that's exactly what we are experiencing and what we are looking at. What we can see is killing, deceiving, telling lies, disrespecting their parents, making wars with others. Nowadays, in Myanmar, the military group is killing people there. People are shouting, especially the young people are shouting for the freedom, democracy. But yesterday, Myanmar just military groups, they just killed lots of people. They just aimed protesters' head and chest. 19 years old girl. I don't remember her name, but she got, a shot on her head. She was wearing a shirt. Everything will be okay. That's one of the their mottos. Everything gonna be okay. She got killed by the military group. And other countries, including UN, even though UN said that, law, they can help other countries or nations when those innocent people are killed by somebody else or the government or anything groups. But they are not doing anything yet. So the Myanmar people are screaming, how many people have to die for your help? When you're gonna come and help us? Do we have to die more? Do we have to see more people, were killed by military group? It's tragic. It's tragic. What are the humanisms? I think some other neighbors and other foreign countries, they are calculating, which way is good for their countries, not for Myanmar. That's why they are not still helping those people. The young people are just asking help in too many foreign ambassadors and foreign embassies, but I don't know. So we need wisdom. Wisdom makes us brave. Okay. More righteous. More justice. We are not doing that because we don't accept wisdom's invitation, wisdom's call. We want to just stick to our ways, which means we are dying physically, mentally, spiritually, ethically. And we don't get the insight, wisdom from the house of wisdom. Those are problems. Those are problems. Um, anyway, that's the allegory. Okay, but do not attempt to interpret details. What kind of roof tiles were there? You don't have to know. You don't have to know. Is that servant male or female, old or young? You don't have to know. You don't have to know. Okay. Is that meat lamb or beef or pork? You don't have to know. Mixed wine, what kind of wines? Napa, Valley, or Australian, or what kind of wine is it? Why wisdom mixed with the wine? That is good wine. That is good wine. Okay? So where is the entrance? You don't have to know. You don't have to know. Just come and get it. Just leave your way, come and get inside, get wisdom, okay, and save your lives. Live right. Get some insight. And see the things right. And that's the main point. That's the main point. We need lots of knowledge, but what about so many knowledges without wisdom? You're gonna do something wrong, right? What if you have lots of guns and pistols, but you don't do right? That's what Myanmar's military group is doing. Okay, do not interpret little things. Those are useless. The Juk said, we need not to ask what the meat, wine, table, or maize resemble. Okay, what kind of a table is it? Is that table marble or wood or stone or plastic? You don't know. They simply add local color to complete the idea of a sumptuous meal being prepared, which of course is likened to wisdom in verse 6. Verse 6, live your simple ways and you will live, walking the way of insight. Alright? That's what we really want to know. Other than that, those are kind of useless. We don't need to know. Because we don't need to know what we don't need to know. Okay, see, determine the main point of the teaching, for example. The main point of Psalm 23, allegory of the shepherd, is that God cares for those who are His. I think the Psalm 23, can be most popular Bible chapter. Okay, Psalm 23. It's a short one. God is my shepherd. God is my shepherd. Okay? Shepherd. And I am sheep. Okay? Sheep. God is a shepherd. I am His lamb. Okay? He takes care of it. Shepherd takes care of sheep. They even sleep together with the sheep between the lambs. Because wolves and other people can come and take their lives and meat and blood. So shepherd cares lamb. And lead the lambs on the green grass green grass or pasture, green pasture, nutritious, there are lots of nutritious things to eat, they can eat, okay? They can eat it. And near the stream, water, okay, near the stream, so they can eat, drink water, food, and water. It's just nice. It's nice. Okay? And usually they carry kind of a long stick. Long stick. Those they usually carry pretty long stick, very sturdy one. So they can use those sticks to lead those lambs because they are almost blind, almost. They don't have they have really bad sight, okay, but they can listen. Their ears are very developed. So they cannot see well. They cannot see well. So they don't know wolves are coming or their friends are coming. They don't know it, but they can hear. They can hear their footsteps and they can hear breathing or something. All right, my shepherd. So that stick is for herding. Go this way, go this way. Let's go to the water to drink some water. Okay, and then at the same time, that hook is for saving lamb out of the pit. Because as I just told you, lamb they don't have good sight, so they just fall in the pits. They just fall in the bushes, or they can just fall in the water. So that hook, then shepherd grab this part and hook the lamb and pull it up. That's how they save the lamb. Okay. Okay. So his staff is saving us. Okay. Right. Those are kind of pretty much of it, and then that means what? The main idea is this. Oh, what kind of nutrition we can get from the grass? You don't want to know it. When you eat bread or meat, you don't think about much, right? You eat every day. You eat every day. You don't worry about that. You don't want to know scientifically. You don't want to just analyze those things scientifically or whatever. Okay. So that means the main idea. What's the main idea? When you see this picture, the whole picture, you can get the main idea. God cares us. God loves us. And God cares us because He loves us. You don't care others, you don't love. Do you? Okay? You don't care others, you don't like, you don't love. You care others because you love those people. Okay? Myanmar's military group killing people because they are saying no to and criticize the military group. So they hate them and they kill them. That's the allegory of the shepherd. That's the allegory of the shepherd. Psalm 23. It's beautiful. You can see beautiful picture. I think you just saw lots of pictures, it has Jesus was holding, sorry for the head, Jesus was holding a little lamb, okay? Little lamb, something like that. Main idea is that, that's it. What kind of a water is it? How much alcohol is in it? You don't have to. It's useless. If you dig in those things, you must be something wrong. If somebody is explaining those things too much, nutritions or something like that, that's wrong. That's wrong. Okay? So that means God cares for those who are His. Right? So simple. 3. Paul's allegorization in Colossians 4:21 to 31. One passage that has caused a great deal of perplexity for evangelicals in Paul's allegorizing in Colossians 4. Liberal theologians have been quick to seize on this as an illustration of Paul's adoption of the legitimate hermeneutical methods of his day. Evangelicals have often treated it in embarrassed silence, for it does seem in these verses Paul used illegitimate allegorization. Right? A, the historical situation. We have to understand the historical situation, right? Paul refers to real historical people and events in making his point against Jews legalists who promoted strict adherence to the Mosaic law. Learning law is great. You have knowledge, but you understand the law only literally, and you're gonna miss the legal mind. Like the word legal mind. I think that's the only thing I just learned from the introduction to the law when I was in college. I just took the class because I was interested in laws, and I just forgot everything else. I just took that class for a semester, but I just forgot everything. But I just still remember this one: legal mind. Legal mind means what things are happening in this society, bad and good, and we want to just make things good and right, so they make laws, right? All people are honest, and we don't need to make any law. If you tell a lie, you are in trouble. You go to jail almost 3 days or something. You don't have to make that law at all, because all people are honest. But when you see some people are not honest at all, and they cheat others' properties and things and money, and you need to set a law to prevent those things and penalize those violators. And that is what the law is for. And I like that. I like the law, and we want to just have healthy and right law so that we can follow. We can make just good society rather than crooked society. So making law is very important, and Congress is for making laws. And when they lazy, and when they are not sensitive to the normal people, and they're not gonna make good laws, and they just wasting over their time and our money and our energy and the nation's energy. So those are gonna be the useless Congress people. But the Congress is for making good laws, and we want to just elect good congressmen so that they can work for us, okay, and they don't just stay there for their power and, spending our tax. But we know there are sometimes many. Anyway, legal mind is important. And then Paul, and that's what exactly Jesus experienced. And Paul knew that some people are just Jewish legalists. Legalist means what? Legalist means they just know and knowledge, but they don't have wisdom. They don't have legal mind. They are missing legal mind. They don't understand why God gave them those laws. But they just memorize all the things literally, and they just follow. Oh, you just go to church on Sundays. If you don't go, you'll be judged as sinners. But you just don't do work anything. But Jesus said, Sabbath is for people, not for depressing people. So he just healed people who are sick. And he just said, it's okay to save, it's okay to do work to save your donkeys. But you are saying we are not supposed to do work for saving people. And that's not right. That's not right. Okay? Things are happening on Sundays and Saturdays and during the Sabbath, and when people got sick and when people are dying, we have to save them. You are on the way to church for service, Sunday service on Sundays, and you found somebody who is dying. You have to stop there and call 911 at least, or you can just help those people to save their lives. You cannot say that, oh, I'm on the way to service, I don't want to be late to the service, so I want to just say sorry, and you just pretend you don't see that. You are a crooked Christian. You have to learn the Bible again. Because you learn, what you learned and what you are doing is something wrong. Abraham, two mothers, okay, two sons of Abraham, Isaac and Ishmael. Ishmael's birth through Abraham and Hagar was natural. Isaac's birth through Abraham and Sarah was based on the promise of God and involved supernatural activity by God. Alright? So we want to understand the historical situation in Abraham. But we don't want to just stick to the laws and literacy only. Okay? Abraham, okay, he got a call from God. He dedicated his life to God. And there are two mothers, Sarah and Hagar. Okay? Abraham's two wives. And two sons of Abraham, Isaac and Ishmael. Isaac from Sarah, Ishmael from Hagar. Ishmael's birth through Abraham and Hagar was natural. Okay? That's natural. And Isaac's birth through Abraham and Sarah was based on the promise of God. Okay? Because God promised Abraham that he's going to get a baby from Sarah. He already got a baby from Hagar, Ishmael. But God just promised. God's promise is on Isaac from Sarah, and involves supernatural activity by God. Because what? Abraham was 100 years old. He got a baby when he was 100 years old. He couldn't have any physical, ability to make any baby. And same to Sarah. Sarah just stopped menstruation already, long time ago. But so Sarah just left. No, I'm not gonna have a baby because my menstruation stopped a long time ago. And so, well, that's impossible, right? Abraham, maybe he can do something, but I am infertile woman. That's what Sarah thought. But God promised that Abraham gonna get a baby. And Sarah left. Okay. Anyway, they got a baby, Isaac. We want to just know the historical situation, right? Anyway, that's the allegory. The allegory announced after establishing the historical facts as given in Genesis. Paul announces that he is going to make an illustration or analogy, okay? Because Paul is explaining how people can be saved by Jesus Christ. For that, he's just using the story of Abraham. Okay. Paul, to be sure, allegorizes here, for he says so himself. But with the very fact of him saying this himself, the gravity of the hermeneutical difficulty appears. He means, therefore, to give an allegory, not an exposition. He does not proceed as an exegete, and does not mean to say, after the manner of the allegorizing exegetes, that only what he now says is the true sense of the narrative. Quote from, right? It can be kind of hard to understand, but I'm gonna just explain. Well, I think we can understand as we just read and try to understand it. Just if we don't understand, please hold on there. But let's just study a little bit more and then we can understand. C. Hagar's spiritual descendants represents apostate Judaism. Hagar represents the old covenant, the earthly Jerusalem, and those who are enslaved to law. D. Sarah represents the covenant of freedom. Sarah represents the covenant of promise, the Jerusalem above, and those who are free in Christ. Right? Ishmael's persecution of Isaac represents the Jewish legalist persecution of Christians who do not adhere to the Mosaic law. The casting out of Ishmael represents God casting away those involved in the old Jewish system. G. Believers are free in Christ. They are not tied to the old Jewish system that Hagar represents. Conclusion. Paul's allegory was an illustration of analogy in which he was pointing out that certain facts about Hagar correspond to non-Christians, that certain facts about Sarah correspond to facts about Christians. Do you get it? Okay, I'm gonna just draw the diagrams what we just read from A to G. Okay? God promised Abraham to give him a baby, but Abraham had two wives, Sarah Actually, Hagar is, let's say this, Abraham and Sarah. That's his wife. And Hagar is Sarah's servant. Okay? When God promised Abraham to have a baby, that's from Sarah. Okay? That's Isaac. But in the meantime, Abraham had a baby with Hagar, and that's Ishmael. Okay? But God promised Abraham to give him a baby son, through Sarah. So this is the promised son. That Ishmael, he just had relationship with Hagar and Ishmael, and that's not promised. That's not promised. Okay. And then and let's say this. And how does the spiritual descendants represent Jewish Judaism, represent apostate Judaism. It's kind of a stick to enslaved. They are enslaved to the law. Okay? And Sarah represents the covenant of freedom. And the Judah in Jerusalem above, and the covenant promise represents. Okay, those are all allegories, Abraham, Sarah, those are all allegories, but those were real story. But Paul is using that real story, that fact, as allegory. He wants to tell, and compare those people who enslaved to the law itself versus the freedom, the covenant freedom. Okay? Ishmael's persecution of Isaac. Yes, Ishmael persecuted Isaac. That means Jesus got persecuted by what? People like Pharisees and scribes and priests who just accept the law literally. Okay, that means enslaved to the law. Those are same people, and they were thinking that Jesus is violating the law and teaching something else what they are teaching. Okay, so persecuted. That's what Ishmael persecuted. Ishmael is not the real promised son, and Isaac is the real promised son. The casting out Ishmael represents, when Abraham asked God, what can I do for, because those two wives are fighting each other, and Ishmael is persecuting the little baby. God promised, and just God told you, just sent Hagar and Ishmael to leave the house, and that means God casting away those people, Pharisees, Sadducees, and priests who just stick to the law and teaching people something different. something wrong in the end. Cast away. Cast away. Alright? And believers are free in Christ. That's why there's a promise of a covenant promise and covenant freedom. Because this is the real, genuine Son. And Jesus is is Isaac allegorically. So when we follow Jesus, we are free. That does not mean that we can violate any laws. No, we can find the real meaning of the law. Okay, that means that we have to leave the law. We have freedom. We can do whatever we can. No, that's wrong. That's wrong. That's a ridiculous interpretation when we do that. We still wanna learn Old Testament, and we can understand what the real legal meaning, legal mind in the Old Testament. Okay? But we have a freedom because we know it right. When we know it right, we can be free. Alright? Conclusion. Paul's allegory was an illustration of an analogy in which he was pointing out that certain facts about Hagar, certain aspects of Hagar, corresponded to non-Christians, and that certain facts about Sarah correspond to the fact of Christians. Okay? So, can you understand? Those people were cast away, and God protects and preserves those people. So what we have to know is so simple. We have to understand what's going on there. Right? Well, I think that's all about interpreting allegory, and we'll just wrap it up here. For last 10 weeks, we studied about the hermeneutics and how to interpret the Bible. And reading the Bible itself is important, and so we need to read the Bible often and more times, as much as we can. But at the same time, we want to understand the Bible right. And as teachers and preachers and educators, we have to understand the Bible right with proper method, hermeneutics, and then we can interpret the Bible right to people. So we can teach and preach people right. And God's words are important for us, so we have to keep it right. We don't want to misunderstand those allegories and symbols and signs and parables. So we need to be carefully deal with those things. And when we find the main ideas, and we don't want to just interpret something else for nothing. So we have to know, and we have to do. All right, it was my pleasure to be with you with hermeneutics, and I'm looking forward to see you with some, other classes, other subjects and titles with you next quarter. So I think that's it for hermeneutics and for taking this class.